all for joining us again for another office hours session. My name is Matthew. We have Keith and Justin on with us today, as well as other members from our team. And as always, we will be going over our add-ons for Quickbase. Today, we're going to do things just a little bit differently than we normally do. Normally, we start off with open forum, but today we're actually going to start off right with our tip, which is our release notes. So we just want to put that out there. We're going to start right off with these release notes so everyone can get to hear everything possible for Exact Forms Plus. If you guys do have questions and we have time at the end, we'd love to still have you guys stay on, and we can definitely answer your questions after we go through all these release notes. So thank you guys again for joining us, and I'm going to hand it right over to Keith so that he can get started with this.
All right. You can see my screen, right, Matt?
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, we're switching the format just a bit today because I think that since we do have a big release of Exact Forms Plus, we wanted to share some of the things that are coming out so that you guys can all take advantage of them. And I'm sure we'll have time to answer questions about Exact Forms Plus release notes, as well as any other generic questions about our add-ons that you might have. So if we go to the release notes, Justin had put out some on our help site, a quick cheat sheet on our release notes. So one of the big things that we just released was previewing the PDF files in a different way. And one of the issues that we saw is recently, within the last few months, Adobe put out the Chrome extension. Well, they've had a Chrome extension for a while, but if you would install the latest version of Adobe Acrobat Reader, or a paid version of Acrobat Reader, or if you might have done some upgrades or installed some updates, they installed this Chrome extension to open up PDF files. And you didn't have to accept the installation. It just kind of did it in the background. And it caused some issues with Exact Forms Plus, because when we were previewing the document to the browser, obviously in a PDF format, Adobe extension, the Chrome extension, wanted to take over and open it for us. So in the past, we would just let Chrome do the work, but Adobe's extension said, hey, I want to get involved here and I'm going to open it. But the problem with that was it actually opened it twice. So it opened it and then it resubmitted it. So it did a couple of things. It's been flooding our server with extra traffic, but it's also creating some extra file attachment fields that nobody wants. You guys don't want them, and we don't want them as well. So what our recommendation is to not use the Adobe extension if you don't need to. So some people might want to use this extension to open up PDFs, but some people don't want to, and it was something that was installed that nobody really approved to be installed. So quickly, the way to tell if you have it, right? So if you're in Chrome, there might be this little hammer up here that's extensions. If you don't see the hammer, you might see, you can go to the ... and you can click on settings, and then you can go to extensions. But I have it turned on here. So this is the Adobe Acrobat extension, and it's actually enabled. This disables it, but this enables it. I'm going to leave it on because I want to show you what was happening. So if I go to our demo app, I'm going to run an old version of Exact Forms Plus. This is our demo app, and it's not running the latest version, but it's running an older version. When I click this button, it's going to generate the document, preview it to the browser like it always did. But if you notice here, Chrome extension got in the way here, and that never happened in the past. And we don't have a way to know whether the Chrome extension is installed on everybody's individual devices because we don't have access to your devices. And we don't want to, we wanted to come up with a solution where you didn't have to tell everybody to disable it if you didn't want to disable it. But what happens here is it did a resubmission of this document twice, which nobody wants. So one way to get rid of it, obviously, is to disable the extension. But again, we didn't want you to all have to go out to individual users to make sure it was disabled. So we ended up coming up with our own solution. And in our latest version, with the extension still on, so if you look at, I'm going to my admin tab, this is our latest version of Exact Forms Plus. And when we click on this one, the extension is still going to take over, which is fine, but we're not doing a resubmission. Because what we're doing is when we create the document, we're actually redirecting to a preview page. So that's the difference here. It doesn't really mean anything to you guys unless you're really looking for something to exist up here in the URL line. But this was a way for us to stop the Adobe a Chrome extension from resubmitting the transaction to our servers and generating additional documents. So again, we recommend turning it off, but it doesn't matter anymore because with the latest version of Exact Forms Plus, we will handle it properly. Now, if it is turned off, and a way to turn it off is you can click on the hammer and then go to Manage Extensions, or click ... and Manage Extensions, and just simply click it off. So now when we go back to Exact Forms Plus and we run the latest version, or even if I run an old version, if you look at the old version, you notice it's not going to show Chrome extension up here because it's not enabled, so it's not running. So this is the way it always used to work, and it was fine. It was submitting it once. And in the new way, the new version with the Chrome extension off, the difference is you'll see that we redirect to a preview page. That's the only difference. And you can still download the file just like you always do. But the thing is, we're kind of not allowing Adobe Chrome extension to interfere with our process in submitting transactions to our servers. So that was one of the biggest changes that we implemented with this new version of Exact Forms Plus. So the next thing I wanted to talk about is fillable PDF files. So we've had some people ask us about maybe creating a Word document template that had some form fields in it, and then keeping them around when the document was created. So what we did was, I'm going to show you a demo here. So I have a fillable PDF. I'm not a fillable PDF, but a fillable template. So I'm going to open up this Word template. And as you can see, I have some form fields. Now, if you have Word open and you don't see this developer tab, then you probably can't put form fields on it, but you can enable the developer tab. So the way to do that is you can go to File, Options, Customize Ribbon, and you can look for the developer option and just click it on. So if you don't see it up here, this is probably off. So let me turn mine off. So there's two ways to do it. You can do File, Options, Extensions, or you can simply right-click on the ribbon and choose Customize this ribbon. And then what you do is you scroll down to the developer section right here. Just click it on, and you'll see the developer menu option to come up. So with that developer option, you have the ability to add form fields, and we only support legacy form fields. So what you do is you just can, I'll add another one in here, and then I'll update this template. Let's say I wanted to drop another text field out there. So really what you have is you can do text, you can do checkboxes, you can do drop-down lists. So if I add another text field, and then I double click on it, and I want to give it enter some more text, then maybe I'm going to give it I want to limit it because I only want it to be a certain number of characters, and maybe I want it to be uppercase. So I could do that. So that's how you would add your form fields. So if you want these to be enterable when the PDF is created, we have a new option, a parameter called fill out equals yes. So I'm going to save this, and I'm going to update and replace my template with that guy. So now when I go to my records and I want to create a fillable PDF, I'm going to click my button, but let me just show you what I did in that button. I have a new parameter called fill out. But I said, if template is number 4, because my only template that's using fillable fields is template number 4. So I'm saying if template is number 4, then set fill out to yes, otherwise set it to no. Or you can set it to blank and nothing will happen, or you can just leave it out totally. But if you want it to maintain form fields in your PDF, set it to fill out equals yes. So that's what I did in this case. So when I click this document button to create a PDF, you'll see that there's form fields here now. So your end user can double click and type in their name, checkbox as well, the drop-down list. So I'm showing some of our add-ons in our drop-down list. and some more stuff. Now you can also then, they can download that with or without changes. So let's say with your changes. And I'm going to store it as filled out. And then if I open that, I'm going to close this one. If I open that one, you can see that it maintained, it accepted the filled out information from the end user. So that's our fillable form fields. Again, fill out equals yes is the new URL parameter for that. All right, so let's move on. Again, I'm moving a little quick so I can leave some time at the end for questions, but I just want to kind of get through all the different release notes for this latest release of Exact Fonts Plus. So here, the next option is if you want to include images in your document, and we've always allowed you to include images, but if you wanted a hyperlink on that image to click to, let's say, a website or something like that, or maybe even do an action, maybe an add record into a Quickbase table, we're now allowing you to handle hrefs. So you can surround your image with an href. I'm going to show you how we do that. So I go back to here. I'm going to use my record here. So I have a file in my file attachment field, and I created a new formula rich text field. And I said, if that file has a value in it, meaning it has a file in it, I'm going to use this href here because I want when that image is shown inside of my Exact Fonts Plus document, I want my user or somebody who gets that document to click on that image and be taken to a page. In this case, it's going to a confirmation page for our soon to be released juice sign add-on. So that's all. So right here is the href, and here's the image source. So this is basically saying, go get the file in field 53 from the same record and use that as the image and put this hyperlink in it. All right, so let's exit that here. I'm going to go back to my record. I'm going to click on my document generation button. So here we go. We have our document with some subtables, but then here's that image, and you can see it's clickable. So when I click on it, it's going to take me to a hyperlink, which is our juice sign confirmation page. So that's our adding hyperlinks to your images in Exact Fonts Plus. All right, let me pull back up our notes. Links. Okay, so Subtable, we went over this at the past office hours, but we added some more flexibility in our Subtables. So we now allow you to control the column headers, meaning you can control the font, the style, the size, differently than the actual data in the detailed rows or the data rows. And you can also dynamically control the coloring of each row. In the past, we allowed you to do alternate row shading, and we allowed you to change the color, but we never let you say, hey, I want to change the color based on a field in my table. So we allow you to do that now. So let's go to my demo app again here. So for this one, I have six line items on this record here. So I'm going to show you when I click the document, generate the document. You can see how I changed this so that I can now control the style. So in here I have bold, italicized, and also have a larger font. I'm going to show you how I did that, but I wanted to kind of show you the output first. So this is what I mean when I say you can control the column headers. So differently than how you can control the detail data. So in this case down here, I'm doing my grouping and I'm shading my colors for the groups, but everything else is different from the header standpoint. So I can change and what we'll do is maybe we'll change this and we'll regenerate this. Maybe we'll change sizes to be something different so you can see that. But the other thing I want to show you while I have this document open is the row coloring. As you can also see how I was able to change each row individually. And I did that by setting a field value on the subtable to say I want when the status of a record is a certain status, I want to use a different color. So let's first go into the configurator now. and we'll take a look at how we did that. So if I go to so this was using our template number 1. So here's our document template table. Template number 1 has a few subtables. So this is the one that was STRID1, which showed that column header where you saw the quantity be larger than everything else. So let's go back in here. So we're also releasing a new version of our subtable configuration tool. So this utility, obviously everybody's familiar with it if you have Exact Forms Plus. And we've added some new options in here. So if you go to your subtable fields itself, so these are the fields that you selected to appear in your output line items table inside of the document. So when you click on advanced settings, you notice now we added something new called column header properties. Okay, so that's how you might change the different settings for each column header property. So if I wanted to go to sizes and I wanted to change the size, I want to right justify, I want to bold it, I want to change the font to be, no, maybe that. Let's increase the size to be a little bit bigger. Let's apply the changes, hit save changes. I won't go into the row color just yet. But now the next time I click that document, we should see the sizes column look a little different, column header anyway. See, it's right justified. Probably didn't make it big enough. Let's do that again. Let's go back into the configurator. I'm going to go right into STRID1. Subtable fields. Let's go to sizes. It didn't hold that change. So I got to make sure that we do that right. So let's make area round. Let's make it 20. Apply. Save. Let's just make sure that that held. Yes, it did. Let's close. Let's go back and test that one again. All right, so I'm going to have to just check on that, make sure that it's holding the properties the way it should be, but it was working in the past. I mess around with my beta server and the demo server, so I might have a different version in there, but it did right justify it, but we will be able to do this as well. So we're just going to check on that. But that's the whole point is we can give you the ability to change these properties around. And when we go to row colorization, when we see this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back into the configurator. I think that was subtable 4. This one here. Yes, row color 20. First, I'm going to turn it off. So there's a new property on this table over here that shows row colorization. And I'm going to have to talk to my developer about that because it's not loading properly on that. Make sure they're right. Because that should have set the value of the row color to this field here. One thing I will show you is that the field that we're controlling the color with is right here on the items table in the subtable. I have a field called row color. So I'm going to go in there and show you what you can do. So you can set this to say, if the item status of each individual record has a certain value, you can control the color. So in this case, red, if it's out of stock, orange, if it's back ordered, yellow, if it's low in stock, and you can also use HTML color codes. So that's how you when I generate the document, you can see the different variables going. But this field, row color, should be available when you open up the subtable configurator. for some reason it's not right now. Again, I think because you can see it here, like for those of you who really like to get into the nitty-gritty here, this says row color fit is 20. You don't have to know that, but I just know what it is because I designed all of this a long time ago. But that's what we created the configurator too, so take that out of everybody's hair, so you don't have to know what that is. But row color fit of 20 means that on the items table, that column, that field, we look at it, it is 20. So that's how we can control the row color. So again, when you click the document button, and that was for STRID number 4, having row color set to field 20 will dynamically control each one of these. So this might have been, low. I think this was low stock. These were probably out of stock. So you can see, instead of having just alternating row color, you can actually control dynamically all of the colors. But we'll make sure that configurator is up and running properly on the live servers. That again is pointing out demo service, so we might have snuck in an old version or maybe some testing versions in there. So that are the new changes around subtables. So some bugs, and I'm not going to show these because some of our customers have some unique situations where they were getting some errors when they were creating a Word document. So we did identify the issue with that, and we put out a new change to fix that. And there's another one about handling data URLs. I don't recommend using data URLs, but we were, and this was in our AFP batch processor. Data URLs is just another representation of an image, and a lot of biochemistry companies are using that to create some pretty cool genome models and so on, and they can't really do that with regular images. But I don't recommend it using data URLs. But if you do have a data URL need, you can reach out to us and it will work. But again, I don't recommend it because it's a huge footprint inside of your app. And I'll give you a quick look at that. This is an image. It's a data URL. We take a look at the code behind it. This is the code behind it. And I don't think anybody really wants to see that. And it takes up a lot of space. So that's another reason why I don't really recommend data URLs. But I did want to point it out because we do support it in the batch processor now. With this new change, I want to point this out because in some older implementations, or a lot of times people copy buttons. And if you're, let's say you're in, and you can use our wizards to duplicate your buttons now instead of copying. But and before we had a wizard, people would come in here and say, hey, I want to duplicate this field and I want to use it in another table or something like that. And what they forget is that some of these field IDs are referencing field IDs in this table. So if you copy this and put it in another table, the file attachment field ID might not be the same number, and the EFP date might not be the same number. So I'm going to give you an example of that. So let's just change this to 49. And guess what? This is, well, I'm going to make this field 40. I'm going to make this 38 because it was 39. So obviously I can't update this field with a file attachment because this is field 38 and it's a formula URL field. But what will happen is now in the past, ExactForms Plus would ignore that and allow it to happen. We don't do that anymore. When that happens, we're going to throw an error. So we're going to tell you, hey, the field generate EFP document, field 38, can't be modified. Obviously, it can't be modified because it's a formula rich text field. Okay, so we want to make sure that you know that if you are duplicating buttons, you really need to make sure that you set these two fields properly. So they, FAID should be set to a proper file attachment field. And EFP date, which is a date time field, should be set to update a proper date time field. Not only should they be set to update the proper field, but the user token that we have on file for you must have the ability to update those fields. Otherwise, you're going to see those errors. Now, if you don't want to store the file and you don't want to update the date, you can simply do that. You can leave the parameters in there so that you have them for future reference, but this won't update anything, so it'll work fine. But if you put in the wrong values in there, it's going to throw an error because it should be the proper field type when updating. So we wanted to make sure that you guys were aware of that. There were some other issues, really why we had to do that too, because it was throwing a lot of errors on our server. So it was filling up our error logs and so on, and it wasn't fully completing properly. So we want to make sure that everybody is using those values properly. I think that's it. Wow, 26 minutes. All right, so I know I went through everything pretty quickly. I wanted to make sure I covered everything. But now is your time to ask questions about anything you saw here, ask questions about any one of our add-ons in general. So if you have a question, you can certainly reach down into the Zoom controls down the bottom, and you can just raise your hand by clicking on that little hand raise, or you can enter a question in chat.
"26 minutes, Keith. I don't know what you were worried about."
I know it's going fast. Since we have some time back, if someone wants me to walk through something a little bit slower, you can certainly just let me know.
Yep. Carlos, I see your question. Yes, this video will be posted online as well as all of our videos. And I see Keith navigating to the office hours section. So we post all of our office hours onto YouTube, and you could access them from the help site. And then Justin does a great job at timestamping all of these as well. So you can kind of skip to the part that you're looking for. So it's a great tool to have.
And then Carlos, just so you know, that would probably be available either later today or early tomorrow, figure before lunch.
I think when we did our Exact Forms Plus configurator a couple of weeks ago, I'm not sure if this was it or not, but the way Justin sets these up is you can jump ahead. So you can go to one of these videos, and it kind of gives you a little bit of a time marker. So instead of watching the whole thing, obviously you can start it up and you can zoom forward to, if you want to know how to combine columns, if you want to know how to vary subtables, you want to use repeating columns and so on. So he'll do the same thing with this video so that you guys can jump forward and we can maximize the time that you're looking at that video.
Right. Andrea, thank you for a nice note. We hope that people are able to get usage out of these new functionalities. And Keith, thank you for showing how to put that developer tab on there, because I certainly didn't know how to do that. So that was a good one.
I forgot because I did it a while ago, so I forgot that it was even there. But when I came in this office, I noticed it wasn't.
So the euro symbol, I think that's still an issue with the APIs with Quickbase. I don't believe we'll be able to fix that until we have Quickbase working with us on that. I don't know.
Yeah, the question was that there was the euro symbol for numeric fields. Can it show up in the output document? And right now, we use the XML API. And right now, unfortunately, actually, I have something to show you right here. When that comes back from the API, this is what shows. So the API doesn't even bring it back as the euro symbol, brings it back as I don't know what that is. So we don't know that you're trying to use the euro symbol because the API is not telling us that you're trying to use it. So I had this as an example because I've raised this issue in the past, and it has to do with the UTF-8 settings as well. But the euro symbol itself, because you have to use, like, I don't know if it's Alt 0128 in order to get that symbol to appear. The only other thing we might do is if we can't get a fix for this anytime soon, and obviously Quickbase is pushing the globalization of Quickbase, we might actually put in a function of our own to allow you to control the symbol inside of the template. So we might have a format currency field and give you the ability to enter in your symbol there so that we don't have to worry about the API giving it to us. But we do have that in the back of our minds as a workaround for this potentially if we can't get the API to provide it back to us the way we need it.
Hopefully we can get that solution for you. So just as a note to any status.
Good question, Charles. We are working. Charles asked a question about creating a single zip file, or merged, taking all of the files from our PDF merger and zipping them into one, and including that instead of just a big merged PDF file.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, we're working on that. Our developer Manal, that's her PDF merger is one of her add-ons that she's constantly working on, and that's on her to-do list. So I'm hoping that we'll get that out relatively soon, which might be within a month or so.
Whenever you do, Keith, I'm willing to help test. I appreciate it.
I appreciate that, Charles. Once we have something for you, we'll let you know.
Thanks, sir.
You're welcome.
Also a question from Carlos in there.
Good question.
Are you reading right now, Keith? You want me to read it
Yeah,
out loud?
I read it. Carlos asked, what's the best way to vary the what information shows in subtables based on different criteria? For example, if conditions show subtable, if not, this, I actually have a good sample of that. So if you look over here, let me just pull this chat out of my way here. I actually created a field here called, I'm going to edit this. If you notice, I have a field here called varying subtable. So, and right now it's set to strid1. But let's say for some reason, I don't want to use strid1. I want to use strid2 in certain cases, or strid3. I can vary this based on a different field as well. But really, this could decide which subtable from this document subtables table to use when using template 3. So if I save this right now, when I click save here, it's going to use template 3, but it's going to use strid6. So when I click this document, it's going to use a different subtable because I have a field that tells me to use a different subtable. So that's using this subtable, and I'm going to change it to use a different one so you can see the difference. And it's really just changing data in your table. So if I choose this one instead, it's going to use 2 instead of 6. So now when I click that button, it should look a little different. See, this one is one that was using no headers and no borders. So you can control it from inside of your actual record. And all you would have to do inside the template is I'm going to open up the template that was used. So it was template number 3 was used. I'm just pulling that over here. So I referenced field 46. So instead of doing tilde strid equals 1, I said use field 46. And really field 46 is the one that is right here. If we look at this, it's field 46. So really when exact forms plus, exact forms plus is going to replace 46 with strid1 or 6 or 2, whatever your variable field shows. And then it's going to go to the document subtables table, get that record, and replace the data inside the template properly. So again, you can always use a hard-coded value in here of strid equals 1. But if you want to do that variation, control it from another field within Quickbase like that. Good question.
And then to add on, I did drop the YouTube video of a previous bit that we did on varying of the subtables. So Carlos, you could take a look at that as well if you need. With that, there's another question. Is there any suggestion, Keith, to connect 2 subtables in Word file, no space between the 2 tables?
I have seen some people put the strids right next to each other, and sometimes that works. Like if you do strid1, and then right next to it do tilde strid equals 2. I think that might help. I haven't tried it myself, but I have seen some people do that. You can always give that a shot.
Keith, also we see some people they minimize the margins of the spacing between the 2 lines.
Yeah, you can always do that by making sure when you actually have those fields selected that you make sure your line spacing it doesn't have extra spaces in it. So like in this case, I have before and after spacing in here. You can see that the next time it's going to be bigger. So you want to make sure you minimize that space. I always remove all spacing so that there's nothing there. But you can try that. Just make sure there's a space between them if you're going to do that.
Right.
Question from Debbie, I believe that she sent me a message directly by accident, but can you have all documents in a table generated on the first of the month with a pipeline?
Yeah, because you can schedule a pipeline to run on the first, and then you can probably update a record that would trigger a batch processor to run based on a report query ID. So let's say you have that scheduled pipeline, it goes and checks off a box to say, run Exact Forms Plus. Then you would have the Exact Forms Plus batch processor set up to fire the email notification. I'm going to see if I got that in here. So it's almost like mimicking clicking this button, but on a scheduled basis. When I click this button, it updates a trigger field, which fires an email notification to fire the batch processor. The batch processor is looking at this query ID, which is all the records that it wants to produce a document for. So you can have that scheduled pipeline run to check off this same field or some other field, whatever, that fires the email notification and make sure it passes in the report ID of all the records that you want that meet the criteria for document generation on the first of the month. So yes, it can be done. And again, Exact Forms Plus batch processor is included in your standard subscription to Exact Forms Plus. And a few years back, we had them as separate add-ons, but when we did our pricing model change, one of the changes is we wanted to combine those to make them usable and more accessible to everybody. And hang on, we can probably take that offline if you provide me with some samples. He's asking about spacing again with the subtables. I really would have to take a closer look at your particular use case to try to see if we can figure out what might be happening with some spacing.
So we do have a little bit of time left. Remember, this does not necessarily need to be exactly about Exact Forms Plus. If anyone here has questions about any of our other add-ons, we'd be happy to answer those as well.
And actually, we're slowly rolling out the latest version of Exact Forms Plus. Not everybody has it right now, but by tomorrow morning, everybody should be on the latest version of Exact Forms Plus.
Keith, anything else you want to highlight?
I think that's it. I think we hit everything.
All right. I'm thinking then we could wrap it up a little bit early today. We have some time, give everyone about 20 minutes back. There's going to be a short survey at the end. If everyone, wait, pause. We got a question. See, if you need to set and try to input.
Read it out loud, man.
Yeah. So easy file import, a question from Don Larson. If a unique field is set and we try to import a duplicate record, what is it exception handling? So that might be a better question for Todd, who I think is on the call. When we have duplicate records, would it overwrite what was already there, or would it not make any changes?
Say duplicate records, Don, how are you importing it in? Like, what's the key that you're using on the import? Is it record ID? Is it? So on import, it should do an update in place. And I can, we can actually look at that together if you want, Don. It's no problem. I mean, the easy file importer was designed to, to do an import and update in place where it finds the records that are already working. I mean, already there.
Yeah, I think his question was if he's importing a field and he has another column that's set to only require unique values, what type of exception handling do we have? Like, are we gonna crash? Are we gonna give them an error message back? Is that more in line, Don, with what you're asking? Yeah, he says yes.
Yeah, so when records kick out, there is that log table that
Right.
does exist in the configure on the import files table that usually you relate it in. There's an import log details table. So it will, anything that it traps will go into that. Yeah, so if you pull up, look at configuration, go to configuration table groups.
Wrong one?
Yeah, go there and then just pull up a record in there.
One of these?
Yeah, and then import files. So go to the import files record. So down in here, I mean, that's the report of the detail records. So anything that kicks out should trap here. And it should give a reason.
Good question, Don. Anybody else? Okay.
All right. Well, as I was saying, that there's going to be a survey at the end. If you guys can just take that quickly, it'll help us get some feedback and help us adjust for future office hours. So we really appreciate you guys all joining us, and we hope to see you next week, Wednesday at 2 p.m.
Thank you.